So straight camera, you're gonna be looking at this one most of the time, right? So I'm gonna put you right here.
Let me know if my head is tilted.
Nah, you're good.
I tend to tilt one way. But people think that it's just sports, but when I'm as a teacher and as I've done other things too, I'll kind of talk about that.
And that's what we're going to talk about, right? So, yeah, just anything, man.
I'm known for playing basketball.
Known for playing basketball, but there's
so
much more. Absolutely, and again, that's what I want to highlight is stuff like that. All about you, Coach. Like I want to help tell your story. If you haven't already told the stories, you probably have, but
most of my friends that I play ball with, they kind of know.
They kind of know, but
they don't know everything.
I don't know everything. I mean, and I mean, like, before we get started, I mean, like before we met playing, when I was playing at Carson, it was just what this guy said, what my Uncle Mark and my Uncle Alan all said, because no one had social media or whatever, it's like.
It's not like that.
And so my daughter's like, well, how did you see him play? I said, I mean, if I was there and saw these guys play, I was lucky to see them play because my cousin Dave, Dillette and Dukian, and they hung out with you guys, but we didn't hang out. They're a little bit older than me, so we were like, they're I don't know what they're doing.
That's a different generation.
Different gen. So my daughter's like, what the, like she couldn't comprehend and understand that stuff. So. All right, so do me a huge favor. Just go ahead and tell the audience what's your name.
All right. Well, my name is Wilson Labasan. A lot of people know me as Coach. I've coached at Carson High School for many, many years, since '95, back when I was a JV basketball coach, and got on full-time at Carson at '96. I was substitute teaching for 12 years with LA Unified before I caught on the full-time job at Carson, and then I've been coaching ever since. I've coached basketball, I've coached volleyball, I've coached swim, and I currently coach the boys tennis team. I'm still there, I got a couple more years, and we're just gonna ride it out and see how it goes, but I'm privileged to be here, and just want to tell my story.
Yeah, and I'm gonna continue to call you Coach for the rest of my life because for those of you don't know, my name is Harry Garen. And Coach Labasan was my coach during that 91-92 season at Carson High. So, Coach, thanks again for being here and taking the time. So I'm just gonna jump into it, man. I'm just gonna jump into it. Like you said, I want to hear your story. I want to help you tell that story. So take us back real quick.
Okay.
Where are you from? Hey, where'd you grow up? And just tell us a little bit about that time and era when you grew up.
Well, I'm gonna tell you way back to the beginning. Okay, I was born in the Philippines, in Pinili, Ilocos Norte. So in Ilocos Norte, obviously, for those who know the Philippines, we speak a dialect called Ilocano. Okay, and when we moved here with my parents when I was 5 years old, and there were 5 kids at the time, and I have 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers, 5 kids coming to the United States, trying to learn, trying to get, get in the United States and try to make a living. And as I grew up, I always had my 2 older sisters, 2 younger brothers. They were always there for me. My parents, we moved in with my uncle, with my dad's parents. So there were 3 generations of families living at that house, all the way back in 1967, back when I was 5 years old.
Okay, that's you came over here straight to Carson?
Straight to Carson. I actually went to Carson Street Elementary, and that's where my journey kind of started with sports and things like that, because we were latchkey kids. And so my parents wouldn't come home till 6, 7 o'clock. So they said, hey, man, you guys got to just do whatever until we get home. And so we would always play sports. They would open the playground. They would give us some stuff after school, or we'd hang out at the park. We'd play games. We played all kinds of different games. The summer playground. I mean, I got introduced to all these different sports, not just basketball and volleyball, which people relate me to because that's what I coach and played at Carson. But I mean, not just basketball, volleyball, kickball, softball, baseball, handball, gymnastics. You talk about
what about caroms?
roller skating.
Was caroms in there too?
Caroms. But caroms led to pool.
Sure.
And at my uncle's house, they had a pool table. So if you learn how to play caroms, you obviously you're gonna graduate to the next level, which is playing pool. And I watched my uncle RC. He was really good, and so I watched him, and that's kind of just how I got better. Nobody taught me. I just watched.
Right.
Nobody taught me how to play anything. Not even my dad. My dad didn't teach me how to play any kind of sport. I just was interested. Let me take that back.
Yeah.
Volleyball.
Okay.
My sisters, they played volleyball, and so they got us into it, and so they kind of really taught me that. But as far as any other sport though, I pretty much had to learn on my own.
So all this came about Carson Street School.
Carson Street Elementary, and this was during after school, while we were latchkey kids,
right.
and during the summer, when we had nothing else to do but go to the playground, play all day, come back,
right.
and then even then we come home, and we'd be playing in the front yard, and mom and dad they won't call us in until dinner was ready, and this is what we did. This is our generation. We don't have the social media. We didn't have the video games like a lot of the kids have now. It's you play until it gets dark and you get called in, and even then you don't want to come in, right? So different generation, but that's how I grew up. And I learned how to play so many different games and different things. It's funny how God all of a sudden, here I am as a PE teacher. Now you got to teach those things, and it's right there. It's right there. It's inbred me inside of me, and from the beginning.
There's a couple things that you did mention that I want to get back to. One, you coming from the Philippines and assimilation, which I'm want to get into a little bit later. And you just talking about the different sports. I didn't know people relate you more to volleyball and basketball, so that's brand new to me.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that later. So going in, obviously elementary school, you're into the basketball, and again, I'm keen in on the basketball. This is what I mostly know you.
Okay. Well, let me tell you the basketball story.
Right. Go ahead.
Like I said, at the Carson house,
Yeah.
I watched basketball at the NBA, and I looked up to guys like Nate Archibald, tiny.
Yeah.
Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, Wilt Chamberlain, the Lakers and stuff. But as far as little guys go, he was tiny. Nate Archibald, lefty. And Gail Goodrich, who was pretty. He was a lefty as well. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's who But I watched those guys play. Nobody coached me up until I was, I believe in 6th grade, when one of my best friend's brother picked me on the team, and I played one season of basketball. But that season was crazy because it ended really, really This is what I was at Carnegie, the middle school I went to, and I went to save a ball from going out of bounds. As I saved the ball, I stretched out my arms and hit a wall at an angle, and my left arm broke right then and there.
Wow.
And it was a compound fracture. The bone was sticking out. I'm looking at my arm, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing hurts so bad.
Yeah.
I broke my arm. Okay? So I'm in a cast for 3 months. Take the cast off. 1 month later, I break it again. In PE class at Carnegie. 1 month later, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, Dave Desicito, I don't know if you know Dave. Because I think Dave and Dave Dolette, they know the Desicitos, Jill and...
just the last
yeah, okay, anyway.
Yeah.
So Dave trips me, didn't do it on purpose, so he says. Trips me, I fall down, same thing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That was it. And then going into high school, I had 1 season cut short from broken arm. Going into high school, okay? But check this out. The summer before my 10th grade year, because back then, high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th. So the summer before, the varsity coach would have basketball class in the morning.
Sure.
And I would join. I found out about it, I joined, and he was amazed that I was there hanging with all the big varsity dudes. He said, and he singled me out one day, he said, look at this guy.
And let's give a shout out to Coach. Who was the coach?
Coach Akers, Coach Dick
Okay,
Akers.
okay.
He was a varsity coach at the time. Okay, so he singled me out and kind of made my head a little bit big, but just gave me the confidence to know that I can compete against those guys.
Okay.
And then when I get to high school, Carson, I see all these Asian guys that I used to play with at Carnegie that I looked up to, because my sisters, my next sisters were 2 years apart, basically, the three. So I knew some of the older Filipino guys that used to play and played at Carson. So I looked up to them, and I kind of fashioned my game a little bit, and I found out though, why are these guys who I thought were pretty good, why are they not playing varsity? What's the problem? Is it talent? I didn't think it was a talent. I thought they were just as good or better than those other guys. But for some reason, they were not playing. They like to play in the lower levels because, hey, they got to play. Would you rather play in the lower level, play the whole game, be a starter, be the star, make 20, 30 points a game, or sit on the bench playing varsity? And that's, I think, what those guys chose. They chose to play rather than to sit on the bench. Yeah, you're varsity, but so what? You're not playing. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna break that mold. I'm gonna be that guy who's gonna play varsity and who's actually gonna play. And I looked up to a few other guys as I was growing up. Jerry Sueda, I think. He was one of the guys I looked up to, actually played varsity. Tony, God, I forgot his last name. Tony Rojas played varsity but didn't really play. He was on the team but didn't really play. Tony, sorry.
These are up noise.
These are up noise. And then there's another guy
so
that went to Banning. God, what was his name? Nelson Alan. He actually teaches now at Carson.
Oh, nice.
I knew him and I saw him play. The Guamanian guy. He was good. Okay, so I'm like, I want to be like Nelson. I want to be like Jerry. I want to be like was it Dean? I think it was Dean Sueda. Not Jerry Sueda. It was Dean Sueda. And I'm like, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be the one that makes the varsity team, but not only makes it, but actually plays. And there was one game in particular. This was the LA Watts Summer Games. Okay, before my 12th grade year, we were playing Crenshaw High School, and I was the only one on defense. There was this guy coming at me. Okay, fast break, me and him. His name was Daryl Strawberry.
Wow.
Daryl Strawberry, 6'6", probably did way too much, he's tall and skinny, but he eventually made it to the Major League Baseball. But he's coming at me. I'm sitting there at the top of the key. I'm like, okay, what do I do? I decided to take a charge. So I'm sitting at the free throw line, and I'm like this, and he sends me to the wall. He just crashes right into me. But you know what? From that point on, Coach Akers loved me. Oh my God. I got to play a lot more minutes. I started every game. I mean, he trusted me. He said, you know what? If he's willing to do that with his body, sacrifice his body, I'm gonna ride him as far as I can. And I'm thankful, Coach. He's passed by now. But I think it was that moment when I laid it out, took that charge, and sacrifice exactly.
Yeah, no, I dig it. So you mentioned something, Coach. I'm sorry. You mentioned something that you said you wanted to break that mold. You wanted to break that mold. What inspired you to do that though? Because you saw all these other guys before you. Like, what was it that said, you know what? I want to be that guy.
Well, you know what? I did, because I was frustrated. I was surprised, frustrated to see that those guys that I thought was good enough to play at the varsity level, and they decided not to. At the time it was C's, B's, JV, and varsity. With the C's and B's, it was based on age, height, and weight. So if you were a particular number based on age, height, and weight, you could play C's all your high school life. And some of those guys did. They played C's and B's their whole high school life, even though they could have.
Which is not bad, is it? That's what they did.
But that's what they decided to do. But I said, I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to go ahead and try to play varsity and try to show everybody that I'm worthy. I can do this.
Yeah.
And luckily with the volleyball which my sisters got me into, I developed my jumping ability. And I found out early on that even though I was little, you talk about little, I remember these two numbers on my driver's license, my very first one.
Yeah.
I was 5'2" and weighed 105 pounds.
5'2"?
And weighed 105.
105.
Okay? So imagine a guy, I can imagine myself, 5'2", being able to grab the rim, just go up there and bam. I'm like, whoa!
How old were you? What was
I was only in 10th grade.
10th grade?
10th grade, I was in
Carson Gym.
I was already grabbing the rim.
And break it down.
And well, you can't break, they weren't breakaway.
Oh, they weren't breakaway back then?
No,
Okay,
they weren't breakaway then. You go up there and hang and kind of just, see if they're
5'2".
5'2",
Okay.
but I only weighed 105.
Right.
So, but in volleyball, you learn how to jump,
Okay.
with your whole body. You learn to use your arms and so I think that had a lot to do with developing my jumping ability. I never did any kind of weight training, no jump training, plyometrics, squatting, none of that, man.
Wow.
It was natural, it was God-given.
God-gifted.
And, I think that helped me to distinguish myself from everybody else.
No, it did. And like I said, there's no social media like you mentioned, but for us, 10 years, grade-wise younger than you guys, and to hear about you jumping out the roof. I don't know if these were true. You can confirm right now, maybe you can embellish, but they were talking about, man, you see Labasan, windmill. I was like, where? What was you windmilling at? Double head, back jam. I was like, wow, really? So, that 91-92 season, we had like a pep rally in the gym, and you got out there with the dunk contest.
Yeah,
so I was like, that was the very first time I saw you get up. You were still in your street clothes though. You didn't get out.
Okay.
But that's cool. But so same with your high school experience.
Okay.
Tell us how that was. Were you the only Filipino on that team? And I'm not trying to put the race card in. I'm just saying for myself, and I didn't have a similar experience as you, but again, I wanted to challenge myself to get on the team, and that's where we met. I got on the team. I wasn't good enough to play, but I got on the team, and that was satisfying for me to do that. And because before me, a lot of the Filipinos before me quit. So I was the only Filipino dude on our team, with Rudy Washington and Kyrie.
You were there with Rudy and Kyrie? Oh my God. I'm trying to place you with everybody else.
Was our guard.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He was a 10, I was a junior. But for yourself, what was that climate with you? And then how was it for your teammates? I'm going to assume majority was African American. Were they accepting to be like, okay, that's Will, whatever. Yeah, he can jump a little bit. But
you mean as far as playing or coaching?
Playing. That's in your high school years.
Oh, no.
And then who were your standout guys in Carson and in the surrounding areas as well? If you can name some of those.
Well, as far as playing goes, I remember I had to compete against several really good guys. One of them was the quarterback, the quarterback of the football team, Lenny Washington.
Okay.
Athletic as heck, man, right?
Okay.
Football, but basketball, I thought I was better, and I proved it. There was a few other guys that I had to beat out, and sometimes, I don't know what the coach is looking at necessarily, but he had confidence in me, and I had confidence in myself, but he chose me to start every single game, played almost the whole game, and and not to brag or anything, I don't think race was necessarily an issue. It's whoever's the best one that can do the job. It's not, I wasn't thinking about that anymore. Once you get on the team and you prove yourself to your teammates and the coach, you don't need, race is not an issue anymore. It's just, hey, who can ball,
Who
can get out there and do what you need to do.
That's like I said, I love to hear about this stuff, about your stories, and what was going on back then. And just remind me, is this 79, 80, 88?
Well, I graduated in 79, 80.
Okay, so that was that year right there.
So that was that year, and
who were some standout guys, on your team, neighboring, and who was balling out here?
Well, first of all, we had this guy named Sam Potter, about 6'6", shoot the lights out. Before three-pointers came out, he was shooting three-pointers, right? He ended up going to University of California, Berkeley, I think his first or second year. and then transferred over to Oral Roberts, where Coach Akers decided to go coach after winning the championship in '82 and retiring from the school district. Decided to coach at Oral Roberts. Sam followed him there. Okay, and there was this other guy, a couple other guys. We had a pretty good sized team. Sam was 6'6". We had this other guy. His name was Eldridge Hudson. Okay, El Hud, Little Magic. I mean, in all my days in high school, and even all the times that I've seen now, I mean, he's got to be one of the top 5 guys I've ever seen in high school. You talk about a guy 6'6", who can dribble, who can pass, who can shoot, who can dunk over people. I mean, he had it all. Okay, and that's why he was the MVP when they won state back in 1982 with my brother Mission. I mean, he was the guy. Eldridge Hudson, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, you guys. Carson High School, he'll be inducted this November 4th, I believe. He'll be in the second round of people going in. He's the second basketball player. The other one is Wally Rank, who's I'm real good friends with now. Wally Rank was the first Samoan ever to make it to the NBA. Came from Carson High School, San Jose State, drafted by the Clippers. And I actually saw him on TV get dunked on by Dr. J. I was like, whoa! But anyway, yeah, Wally, we go way back. I've always respected Wally. I loved him as a brother in Christ. But me and Wally go back too, man. We got stories.
Yeah.
We used to hang out. We went out a couple times. Wally Rank, Eldridge Hudson. Yeah. We had a couple of guys. We had another big Samoan guy, Wiki Nico, Kelvin Booker. We had some guards, some big guard. I had a big guard's name was David Jones. I think he was like 6'2", 6'3". And I remember one time he coming down the middle against Banning. Oh my God. Down the middle, bam! I was like, oh my God.
How'd you guys do that season?
You know what? Totally disappointing. We're playing at Banning. Okay, there's a 3-way tie for first place between us, Banning, and Gardena. We win. We beat Banning that night. The next morning, we find out one of our players didn't go to school, didn't go to class that day. So he plays even though he wasn't eligible to play. So we end up forfeiting that game. So now instead of tied for first with Gardena, now we're in 3rd place. So being 3rd place, now we got to play a higher seed in the playoffs, and we end up playing Hamilton High School, and they had some very good players. We lose in the first round. My high school career is over. And what's really weird is that my brother Mission, what was he playing? He was playing in the B's. Okay. B's that time because he was only in 10th grade. Played really well. They actually moved him up to Varsity for the playoffs. Didn't think he was going to play, but it's just an honor to be moved up. I was moved up previously too. In 11th grade, I was moved up from B's to play Varsity. I didn't play, but I was chosen, and it's just an honor to be chosen. But anyway, so I get a hairline fracture in my right thumb. Okay, and so I can barely dribble. I can barely pass. My brother comes in for me and scores. So on the box score it says Labasan, but it's like, that wasn't me. That was my brother Mission. I'm like, oh my. But it was kind of an omen of things to come, because 2 years later in '82, him and Eldridge with a few other guys would win the first ever state championship of California.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then him and he goes to UC Riverside, plays ball over there. My teammate Wiki, he goes from Rio Hondo and unites with my brother Mission at UC Riverside to go play over there. Eldridge goes to UNLV, right? Nationally ranked UNLV. He's on a breakaway dunk. He's about to dunk it. He hyperextends his right knee on his way to try to dunk that ball. As soon as I saw that happen, he grabbed his knee. Obviously didn't make it. Yeah. Grabbed his knee. I knew exactly what happened. didn't make the NBA. I mean, he was a shoo-in
Yeah.
to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the talent, the size, everything. But that injury just sidelined him forever, man. And L, I mean, dude, it's much respect for you, dude. But congratulations on the Hall of Fame thing. And but hey.
Yeah, please let me know when that happens.
I think it's November 4th. It's going to be at Carson Civic Center, I believe. Last year it was at the Carson Doubletree.
Okay.
At that time it was 4 guys went in: Wesley Walker, like I said, Wally, Coach Volnagel, our legendary football coach, and what was his name again? Ralph Mann, who was actually a silver medalist in one of the Olympics.
Nice.
So that was the first 4, and Eldridge, from what I understand, is going to be in this group, and down the road a few other people that I know of that I've coached too, but.
Well, that's great. So tell me. So after your career at Carson High, you have any opportunities to play beyond the high school?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I had 3 choices to go.
3 choices.
Okay, I was actually at the year before my 12th grade year. I went to a basketball camp at Fresno State, and one of the coaches there was the Occidental coach from Occidental, the community college in Pasadena. He liked me, wanted me to go to a school. I said, okay, yeah, okay. So I just kept that in my back pocket because I know I can, I want to go UCLA. That was my school, right? To go play ball. A dream. But anyway, so I had Occidental in my pocket, but being, I did so well in school, I had a chance to go to UCLA or USC. I got accepted to both, but the School of Engineering at USC said yes. UCLA said no. So, okay, where am I gonna go? I kind of wanted to go to either one, but USC said yes, and UCLA for some reason said no. So now I'm down to USC or play ball at Occidental. I go to USC. At USC, I'm like, oh, I still want to play. I contact one of the assistant coaches. Hey, coach, when do you have tryouts? Oh, hey, want to come by tomorrow? Oh my God, I come by tomorrow. I bring my stuff, my shorts, everything, and I'm looking through the door and I see the guys and I totally, I choke. I don't even go in. I don't know if I wet my pants or but I'm only 18 years old, man.
Okay.
I mean, I see all these big dudes coming in, or they're walking past me, they're like 7-foot guys. I mean, big giant dudes. I'm like, I felt so small at the time. I didn't even go in. I got invited, but didn't even go in. So I'm thinking, okay, volleyball, let me do volleyball. I go talk to the coach. Oh man, we had tryouts in the summer, maybe next year. That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, in volleyball at Carson, I was a setter, but I could jump.
Sure.
So I set myself kind of apart from regular setters, but that year I was the Marine League MVP. And the second runner-up was this 6'6" guy. I remember his name, Robert McNutt. Ended up going to Pepperdine on a volleyball scholarship. So he was the guy that I beat out for the league MVP that year. I thought, hey, I can play volleyball at SC. Choked too. Oh my God.
What happened with that one?
I just didn't go. I mean, I talked to the coach. He told me, no, tryouts are over and maybe next summer you can come. But I continued to play. I played, adult leagues in volleyball, basketball, and just kind of, just continue. And maybe down the road, Philippines is an option.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've always kept that as an option.
Okay.
And so I got better and better and better, and I kept jumping higher and higher, and then just playing with guys that that's gonna make me better. Eventually, I had a chance to possibly go to the Philippines. This guy named Jim White, he was a teacher at Harbor College. Gave me his card and like, yeah, I'm coming to your game, and and I knew him as somebody helping guys out to go to the Philippines. So I'm at Veterans Park Sports Complex, and I'm balling, dude. I'm balling. I mean, the last play of the game, I'm going up for an alley-oop dunk, and I'm like, and I miss it. But come on, how many guys my size are out going up
to yoke on something,
getting alley-oop dunks? So he talks to me at the end of the game. Okay, I'll contact you. Never did. I was like, oh heck. You know what? Screw it. So I just keep that in the back of my mind. It's always there. I had a chance one other time. It was at Scott Park, Poesia Park now. These guys from the Philippines were coming to the United States to rehab. And one of the guys' name was just Sam Boy Lim. Supposedly a high flyer, big dude. I was hanging with him and these other guys. I'm like, the heck? So I'm proving myself that I can hang with these guys. So anyway, nothing. I mean, but when I got married, no more. My wife said, hey, man, I'm not willing to go to the Philippines. And there's other reasons too why I didn't go to the Philippines. Sure. My mom said that she didn't want me to go. That we had quote unquote people that didn't necessarily like us, maybe because of our political affiliations. And so I've heard of stories where people get kidnapped, or you're playing a game and they're throwing batteries and coins at you. I'm like, what the heck? No, I ain't going, dude. I mean, even one time with Goldilocks, I mentioned I played with Goldilocks. We were gonna go and travel and play teams over there. You know what they did? We had one practice. They taught us martial arts. Oh my God. I was like, why are we learning martial arts to go play in the Philippines?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, we never went.
Yeah.
We never went.
So let me ask you something. Like, it's, we started off, you guys came from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about going back to the Philippines.
Going back to play,
possibly. So just really quick, just touch on it as far as like, your Filipino American experience coming out. I know you were younger.
Yeah.
You tried your family assimilating into this culture, leaving one and coming here. Like, what was that like growing up in like the 60s, 70s, and getting into that 80s part where, like, what was going on with the Filipino Americans during that time?
Well, I think in the 60s, it was 67.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember probably most of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just learned to play sports. I wasn't really aware of the politics and stuff like that. I just wanted to play because it was fun.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get good, and I watched TV, and nobody ever taught me. I didn't have an older brother. My older sisters helped me play volleyball, but no basketball. I had to teach myself. I had a coach who didn't really know what to do. Didn't really know basketball, but he was my coach at the Park League at Carson Park. But I didn't get any formal training like the kids get now until high school. Mr. Park, God bless his soul.
Yeah.
He was my coach in 10th grade, 11th grade, C's and B's. Coach Akers, Varsity. But he was the first one to teach me. But it wasn't just about basketball. That's one thing he taught me. As a Christian himself, he had a group at the school called the New Life Club. Okay. And so you learn to put things into perspective, when with him, because basketball is not everything. You may think it's everything, but it's not. And there's a verse in the Bible, that which is always on my mind. I can remember the verse now. God, let me try to remember. Well, anyway, just trying to put things in perspective. It's not about doing things here on earth. It's about having that eternal perspective, and that's what Coach Park gave us. Because he came, he had the New Life Club at Carson High. We met during lunch, and that's how I met almost all the friends I have now. They all played sports. They played basketball and volleyball with me, and they're my friends to this day.
That's awesome.
Okay, Raphael Mertens, who coaches the boys volleyball team. I was his best man at his wedding. He was one of my groomsmen at my wedding. We're still friends. A lot of the people that I played with in high school were still friends, and it was that connection, the sports, you know, the fact that we were Christian, we grew up together, and you know, experienced life together, the ups and downs and all that stuff. That's what it's about, though. And you know, my message is, you know, as a little kid, I thought I was a pretty good dude. Yeah. You know, I thought I was good enough to make it to heaven. I didn't know actually what was in the Bible. The Bible says, there's none righteous, not one. Okay, so, well, how do I get righteous? How do I get saved? It's only through Jesus. Jesus said he's the way, the truth, the life. No man comes to the Father but by him. Once I figured that out, I'm like, not until May 2nd, I remember the date, May 2nd, 1981. I go to a Calvary Chapel, the one in South Bay. I'm watching one of those end times movies, and at the end they say, oh man, I mean, after being convicted, I don't want to be here, you know, experience those end times, you know, the Great Tribulation thing. I don't want to be there. Who wants to be there? Yeah. So, you know, that's when I gave my life to God. I got saved. I didn't know how to feel necessarily. I didn't know, you know, and that's one thing I just told my son a little while ago, you know, you're not going to understand everything. And that's the whole trick, though. Some people use that as an excuse to, well, no, I don't understand it, therefore I'm not going to do it, you know, or I'm not going to put myself fully into that. But everybody got cell phones, right? Look at that cell phone. Do you know how it works? Heck no. You know how to turn it on and off and use the buttons, but you don't know how it works. Yeah. You don't totally understand it, but you don't have to benefit from it. Right. So, I don't understand the Trinity. I don't understand the Father, Son. How can they three be in one? I'm like, how can a virgin have a baby? How do all these things happen? You don't have to necessarily, that's where faith comes in. Yeah. You know, God says we should have simple faith. Right. Just believe and just take it at face value. You don't have to understand everything to benefit from it. You really don't. Yeah. And then, like I said, it's you learn to have perspective, because you and I, we're going to be gone one day. You know, we don't take anything with us. Yeah. You know, so I'm trying to live every day as well as I can. Trying to be the best husband, best father, best teacher, best friend, best whatever. And I think, you know, if anybody's going to listen to me now, yeah, you put God first. Yeah. Put God first. He says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things that you're concerned about, all these things, let him take care of it. But that got me into teaching. It got me into teaching, and that's a part of me being who I am. And again, you asked what the question again was. I mean, what you just said, it really warms my heart, because you don't know how you affect people until maybe down the road when somebody like you comes up and says, hey, Labasan, I remember your class. Yeah. Remember you said a job? Yeah, in homeroom. Yeah, I remember that. Job? What are you talking about? Yeah, we're talking about careers and stuff. Yeah. You said a job meant just over broke. I'm like, yeah, I did say that. Yeah, you don't want just a job, because you know you're just getting by, man. You're living minimum wage. You want a career. You want something that's going to last you for the rest of your life. And I'm sitting back. I'm like, man. Again, it just warms your heart that you can affect people that you don't even really know. You know, I get random people sometimes stop me on the street. Labasan, I'm like, yeah, class of, huh? Yeah, I was in your PE class. Yeah, remember when I fell down and you? Yeah. I'm like, I want to say that I remember their name, but I don't. But guys like you, Harry, I didn't even know who you were, dude. I saw you on Facebook, and the post that you had was it was like months ago. I'm like, let me answer this post anyway, and you answered back. But Harry, dude, man, just guys like you, and I'm telling you, God has ways of putting people in your life. You know, I've always kind of not necessarily wanted this, but I'm privileged, man. I'm kind of tearing up now a little bit because, you know, God has blessed me so much, and you know, I just want to encourage you guys to believe, because you know, it's when it comes down to it, and God is gonna, you know, it says when you're at the end of your rope, that's when God is there. He just, you know, tugging at your heart. So, yeah. I mean, I'm thankful, man. I'm blessed. I'm privileged to be here. God has blessed me with so many things. You know, my health, my family, my mom and dad, you know, who I grew up with, how they raised me. My friends, who I've known forever. Rudy Barba, Frank Rodriguez, those are the two guys I remember from Carson Street Elementary. Introduced me to Mr. Obran. Mr. Obran was the best teacher I never had. Carson Street, I mean, he took me to Dodger games, UCLA football games. I mean, played games with us. I mean, he was like my second daddy. Mr. Park was like my third daddy. I mean, yeah, I mean, did things with me. Took me to places my dad never did, you know, not to necessarily put my dad down, but he had 6 of us.
Sure.
And he didn't know about Dodger games, you know, and he didn't know that we would be interested, but, you know, my dad did his best.
Yeah.
You know, my dad's 93 now. He'll be 93 this year. I mean, you talk about being blessed. Oh my God. I mean, just trying to live up to his example. I'm still trying.
There it is.
You know,
so Coach,
go ahead, man.
Love it.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. But before we go, is there any other message, anything off the top of your head like you would like to tell?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, just off the top of my head, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been in my life, my wife, my kids, our kids. All my friends, all my ex-students like Harry here, all the teachers and friends who influenced me to be, you know, who I am. You know, it's been a blessing, and I thank you guys so much.
And that's a wrap, Coach.
Yeah.